Hello everybody, Arctic here, and this week we're doing 10 facts about Nintendo. Yes, Nintendo, the company that brought you the NES, the SNES, the GameCube, so many great game systems. And then of course, the handhelds, of course, I have to look for it. The Game Boys and the DS's and the stuff like that. So, without further ado, and I should go ahead and say this before you guys go into it, I've got a friend helping me with this video, so go ahead and give him some love as he starts out this list. Here we go.
Number 1! Did you know that Nintendo is actually responsible for 8 of the games that are on the top 10 most sold of all time? These include Wii Sports Resort, Mario Kart Wii, New Super Mario Bros., New Super Mario Bros. Wii, the original Super Mario Bros., and Tetris twice. The only reason why Tetris is kind of wishy-washy is because it was multi-platform, and it's actually on there twice purely because of their Game Boy release. But that's still 6 games on the top.
Number 2. Nintendo got their start back in the 1800s, like the 1890s, by producing a card game called Hanafuda. It was actually, they started producing it shortly after the game was no longer outlawed in Japan, because for a period of time, all playing card games were outlawed by Japan. Yes, that is weird, but for a time, cards were illegal in Japan. But the card game was so successful that it's what launched the early starts of what launched the empire that would become Nintendo.
Number 3! Okay, now it's time to get a little lewd. Back in the 90s, there was a movie called Super Mario Bros., and I'm sure you've all heard of it, and I'm sure you all realize that it's terrible. But did you know that there was actually going to be a porn parody of it called Super Hornio Brothers starring Ron Jeremy? In fact, it was going to be 2 movies. Upon hearing this and realizing the controversy that was going to pop up among these movies, Nintendo bought the rights, and I guess you can say that Nintendo actually owns and could potentially distribute porn. Of course they haven't, because that's why they bought it, but it's still a little bit weird.
Number 4. After the gaming crash of 1983, Nintendo, in order to come back into the gaming market, in order to bring the gaming market back, they created a strict rule set to prevent a flood of bad games and low-quality games and stuff like that from just flooding the market and making it horrible. These rules were from only being able to get the cartridges through them, which also helped their bottom line, but they could control how many were released. Nintendo had to review every single game and make sure it met their standards. If there was any issues or anything like that, they would tell you, no, here's a list of things to fix. And then they would grant a seal of approval. Also, except for in extremely, extremely rare circumstances, rare literally being one of them, there was a limit of 5 games a year to make sure you focused all of your quality in those games and you didn't give them anything bad. They also didn't want you to release, if you released a game to them, they did not want the game to go to their any competition for 2 years. That would later be changed, partially due to the success of Sega, but still.
Number 5! Okay, so we're just gonna keep giving me the weird ones, alright. Back in the 60s, Nintendo actually owned a bunch of love hotels. Essentially what love hotels are, they're basically these hotels that you would sign into. You could sleep there for the night, but it would also contain a bunch of, let's say, scantily clad and normally very young girls who would focus on servicing you. They weren't there for your phone number, let's just say that. I wonder if they're actually going to show Super Hornio Brothers there.
Number 6. Despite back in the 90s having wide success with just about everything they touched, they had a few bit of peripherals and stuff like that just didn't do very well. And then, of course, a system all on its own. You had the Power Glove that not a lot of people talk about. Then you had the Virtual Boy, which everyone complains about. And then, of course, you have Rob the Robot, which was not a horrible idea. It was usable. It just really didn't go well. It wasn't really well supported. My buddy will cover that in the next one. Cover Rob a little further. But still, they managed to bounce back from every dud they did. And they still have to this day. Anytime they dropped a dud, they managed to bounce back. This just shows how strong Nintendo is.
Number 7. Yes! I finally get to stop talking about porn! This, my friends, is Rob, the Robot Operating Buddy. He is a peripheral for the NES and Famicom that was very poorly received and only received 2 games, But Nintendo did not forget about this guy. He actually has cameos in Star Fox 64 as Rob 64 and the Spyborg, both of which are based off of his character. And you can also see him in the background of some Nintendo games, such as Kirby 64, The Crystal Shards, and F-Zero GX. And, of course, there was also another small game that he was a part of, you know, Smash Brothers. So you all know who he is, but he's been around for a while.
Number 8. So, Sony originally wanted to work with Nintendo on the PlayStation add-on for Nintendo. This was the original goal. It was co-developed by Sony and later Philips, and basically they dropped Sony for Philips for several reasons. This kind of led Sony down a rocky path that would lead them to some light working with Sega, some light working with another couple other, bouncing around, before they decided to release the PlayStation, which shook the market up and really just, the world's never been the same when it's come to gaming.
Number 9! Back in the day, there was actually no rating system for games. The only real option you had was to look at like 2 covers of games and just think, hey, which one's actually meant for my kids? But, seeing as now we have the ESRB, that's not much of an issue. Why is the ESRB a thing? Well, one of the reasons is because of Mortal Kombat. And this is a bit of an interesting tidbit with Nintendo. When Nintendo released the original Mortal Kombat for the SNES, the entire thing was censored. Every hit meant that you had sweat pouring off of your enemies, and there were absolutely no fatalities. However, the Genesis actually ruined that for Nintendo, because they actually had a blood code called Abacaba, A-B-A-C-A-B-A, that enabled all the blood to be turned back on in the game. When Nintendo seen this, and upon the release of Mortal Kombat 2, they enabled all the blood too. Why? Because the SNES version sold terribly, and everyone hated it.
Number 10. So people really like to say that the Wii was a failure, that the Wii was just not good. I want to point something out to you. So the PS3 sold 83.8 million units. The Xbox 360 sold 84 million units. Yes, their race was close. Their race was tied. Xbox 360, you can go ahead and argue you had a 0.2 million lead. I really don't care at this point. The Wii sold 101.6 million units, roughly. It is number 5 on the top 10 best-selling game consoles of all time. By the way, Nintendo has 5 consoles in the top 10. Anyways, thank you all for watching this. Definitely a big thanks to my buddy for Lazrpo for popping up in this. If you want to see some of the stuff he doesn't really do Let's Plays as often as he does other really weird, fun videos, but they're kind of fun. If you just like something strange, you might check him out. He's definitely a lot of fun. I'll go ahead and leave a link to him down in the description, and if I can remember to throw the annotation in, it'll be right here too. Anyways, thank you all for watching this. If you liked it, go and hit that like button. If you have a suggestion for a video I can do in the future, please let me know. Did you guys know this is the 81st Fact video? 81st. Holy cow. If you guys really like the consoles, I might go ahead and do a bounce through several of the other consoles and leaders and stuff. Maybe Sega, Sony, Microsoft, Atari. We can hit all of those. It'd be some nice little bit of fun. Well, anyways, as always, if you like this video, go and hit that like button. If you're new here, the subscribe button's right here. Why not go ahead and hit it? You know you want to. As always, you guys have fun. I will see you later. Bye, guys.